Hey, welcome. Today, we're going to dig into some really powerful ideas about what it actually takes to succeed. And we're pulling these straight from Samuel Smiles' classic book, Self-Help. We're talking about the raw, gritty power of just sticking with it. Perseverance, hard work, and good old-fashioned willpower. So let's jump right in with the big question, the one that's at the heart of all this. Is genius something you're just born with, like a gift? Or is it something that's hammered out and built through pure, relentless effort? The answer, well, it might not be what you think. The famous painter Sir Joshua Reynolds was pretty clear on this. He basically said that what we call genius is just another word for hard, focused work. This quote really sets the stage for everything we're about to cover. The idea that real, lasting success isn't handed to you, it's earned. All right, so for our first section, let's just go ahead and tear down this whole idea of the myth of genius. We're going to pull apart that romantic notion that greatness just happens. We'll see how, over and over again, it's actually the result of some seriously painstaking effort. See, Reynolds was totally convinced that art wasn't some exclusive club for the magically gifted. He literally told his students that anybody, and he meant anybody, who really wants to excel has to just pour their entire mind into it from the second they wake up till they go to bed. For him, hard work was the great equalizer. And you know what? History totally backs him up. Just look at where some of the all-time greats started. We've got a pastry cook, a dyer, a peasant boy, a stonecutter, a bricklayer, even a baker's son. These weren't people who were born with a silver spoon. They became legends in their fields, and that just proves it. Where you start has absolutely nothing to do with how high you can climb. Okay, so if greatness isn't a gift, then what is it? Well, our next section gets into the real cost of it all, the price of perfection. This is all about the insane amount of work and, frankly, the obsessive focus on detail that it takes to truly master something. This line from Michelangelo is just brilliant. The story goes, someone saw him making all these tiny, tiny adjustments to a statue and said they were just trifles, no big deal. And this was his comeback. It gives you a peek into the mind of a master. Every tiny detail matters because all those little trifles add up to create something magnificent. And it's the same story with the incredible painter Nicolas Poussin. When someone asked him, how did you get such a great reputation? His answer was so simple but so powerful. Because I have neglected nothing. No shortcuts, no good enough. His success was built on being completely meticulous about every single part of his work. Now, this one is really fascinating. It shows a true master who wasn't too proud to do the grunt work. The legendary J.M.W. Turner used to do these repetitive, low-paying jobs painting skies onto other artists' drawings. Why would a genius do that? Because he didn't see it as a chore. To him, it was first-rate practice. Every single task, no matter how humble, was a chance to get better. So, what fuels this kind of non-stop work ethic? It's not just about clocking in the hours, right? You need an engine. And that brings us to our next part. Willpower forges away. This is all about that internal fire, that sense of purpose that turns plain old labor into incredible achievement. I love this story. It's just perfect. This carpenter wasn't just working on a piece of wood. He was literally building his own future. His answer shows this incredible ambition and vision that turned a simple job into a stepping stone. And the best part? He actually did it. He became a magistrate. Now that is willpower in action. And let's see how this plays out on the world stage. You've got two of the most famous generals in history. On one side, Napoleon, driven by this all-consuming desire for personal glory, a will so intense it literally redrew the map of Europe. And on the other, Wellington, who was fueled by a powerful sense of duty, a quieter, more disciplined resolve that just methodically organized win after win. Two totally different motivations, but both were powered by an absolutely unstoppable will. This quote just perfectly captures Napoleon's whole mindset. When his engineers told him the Alps were in the way of his army, he didn't see an impossible obstacle. He just saw a problem that needed to be erased. His response wasn't about mountains. It was a statement that for a will that's strong enough, even a mountain range is just something you deal with. So here's the key takeaway from all this. That kind of willpower, that kind of work ethic, it isn't just for generals and kings, not at all. These are tools that are available to every single one of us, no matter where we come from. Which brings us to our next section, excellence from anywhere.
And if you need any more proof, just look at this list. The people who completely changed how we see the universe, science, the world itself, they came from the most ordinary backgrounds imaginable. We're talking about the sons of bakers, innkeepers, farmers, and day laborers. Their only real advantage was an unbreakable will and a massive capacity for hard work.
You see, Napoleon didn't just keep this idea for himself, he turned it into a weapon. The core principle of his army was simple: a career open to talent. What that meant was that any regular soldier, no matter his background, could rise up to the highest possible rank, even Marshal of France, if he had the skill and the drive. It completely unlocked all this human potential that society had been ignoring. But, and this is a big but, it was not easy. This number right here, 14 years. That's how long it took Marshal Massena, one of Napoleon's very best generals, just to get promoted from a private to a sergeant. He said later that getting that one promotion to sergeant took more work than anything that came after. It just goes to show you, those first few steps on the ladder are often the hardest. And here is just a perfect, real-world example of that climb. Take a guy named James Sharples. He started out as a boy in a foundry doing backbreaking work, but in his downtime, what did he do? He practiced drawing on the workshop floor. Then he scraped together enough to buy a few tools and taught himself how to engrave, failing over and over until he got it right. And eventually he got so good he won a major prize for his art. It's just an amazing journey, from pure grit to incredible skill. All of this brings us to our final, and maybe the most important point, the virtue in the struggle. Because when you get right down to it, the ultimate reward for all this effort, it's not always the fame or the money. It's about the person you have to become to get there. Okay, just imagine this for a second. You have worked your whole life for this one moment. You stand up in Parliament to give your very first speech, and you are literally laughed off the stage. People are howling. It was a failure so complete, someone called it more screaming than a comedy show. For most of us, that would be it. Game over. But not for Benjamin Disraeli. In that moment of total humiliation, he fired back with this incredible prediction. You see, he didn't see failure as the final word. He saw it as just one more step. He went back, he studied, he learned, he changed his approach, and he ended up becoming one of the greatest speakers in Parliament's history. His character was forged right there, in that moment of failure. And here's another story of just unbelievable resilience. An inventor named John Heathcote watched his entire factory, his whole life's work, get burned to the ground by rioters. A crushing loss. But instead of giving up, he used that disaster as a reason to start fresh, moving to a new town and building an even bigger, better business. The struggle didn't break him, it revealed how strong he was. And this quote just wraps it all up perfectly. The real value isn't holding the trophy at the end of the race. It's the courage, the discipline, the character you build while you're running it. The person you become through the struggle. That's the real prize. So to finish up, let's turn this question back to you. We've seen how all these incredible people faced their own massive challenges with nothing but sheer willpower. Napoleon looked at a mountain range and said, "There shall be no Alps." So the question I want to leave you with is this. What's your Alp? What's that big obstacle in your life that, with enough perseverance, you can decide will simply not stand in your way?